When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast that reminds you it's pronounced prostrate.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with supporting the 10th Amendment.
Oh, Kyle.
I thought you might be the only one who would know what amendment that is.
I love a triple entendre. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Gayest.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today, get ready to say sorry a whole bunch.
Prostate.
Prostate.
I pronounced it wrong when I said the pronunciation.
Oh, I thought that was on purpose. I thought you were doing it.
No. Should I redo it or just... I don't know.
It's that ship has sailed, Kyle.
Just like your prostate. Shit. Why am I... Prostate.
Prostate. Yeah. Prostate.
Okay,
great.
Sorry. Now I'm so distracted by the fact that I forgot how to pronounce that word.
You need to say sorry.
Sorry, eh?
Yeah.
That's probably so annoying to Canadians.
Yeah. Absolutely. My grandfather, my almost 90-year-old grandfather. No, he is 90 now. Nope. He's 89. Anyway.
We're on the edge of our seats.
Great. Yeah. He likes to tell this joke about how, like, when they were deciding what to name Canada, they all got together and pulled letters out of a bag. Yeah, I won't tell it again.
Well, now you have to if anyone's not heard it. I just know it and was, I don't know, rolling my eyes.
Pulled out a C. Eh? Yeah. Now you made me feel bad.
I'm sorry. I was really not going along with you on this.
Remember that part when I insisted we record in person? I regret it now immediately.
Because you can see all my eye rolls. Sorry. I should have definitely gone along with you, and I support you, and you're funny, even when you say
thanks
stuff a bunch.
Thanks.
We're talking about Canada.
We're going to talk about Canada. As Big Fatty says, Northern Mexico.
Northern Mexico.
But first,
I have a feedback.
Oh,
for you.
Correction. Okay. Oh God.
About Taylor Swift.
Great.
At Historia_Stan on Twitter said the comment about Taylor Swift left a bad taste in my mouth. While there's room for her to be a better ally, I think it's wrong to brush off Taylor's allyship as simply performative. And they linked to a Pride.com article where there are 7 times she was an ally. You Need to Calm Down drove donations to GLAAD, and she has stated that she wished she was clearer about her support earlier. So that's homework for you to do.
No. Fuck her.
I
mean, hey,
I have passed along the feedback to you, and you must take what you will. Just like in sex, take however much you want.
I appreciate that. Leave Mike alone.
Okay.
I just really, really don't like her, and it's completely irrational, and I accept that.
I feel like you don't like a lot of just the big pop stars. You just don't think they have talent and get undeserved success.
Yep.
Right? Isn't that what it comes down to?
Yeah. It's a combination of talent and authenticity, and it doesn't even matter if it's actual authenticity. I just have to buy it, and I neither of those apply to her. So great. Here's this hole. I'm going to keep digging it.
Yeah, you know. In the long list of things we all should do more research into to come to a better understanding and heightened awareness of, Taylor Swift might be very low down on that list.
Yeah, I'll put it on the backlog.
Yeah.
That's what we say at work for shit that we're not going to do.
That'll be in phase 2. I always say phase 2 when you know you're not going to do something. That'll be phase 2 of our research.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
Do you want to do the news?
Let's do the news.
I did good.
You did so good. You even made like a little I'm a little teapot kind of a curtsy.
I never know how much of that to leave in. It's I don't know if it's funny to other people about our...
It's our show. Fuck them.
I guess, but it's... Okay.
News the first.
Should it have gone just there before you said news the first? Should it have gone when we left the break, but then you started giggling?
Yeah.
These are the dilemmas I run into in editing.
This is why you're a pro, Kyle.
I guess
You're
so.
a professional editor.
Professional editor. I mean, okay.
Okay.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News.
News the first.
Okay. Well, no. Before news the first.
Oh, jeez. I have to put so many news intro theme songs.
So I do plan on doing Canada-themed news today, which then makes it seem like a glaring oversight to then not talk about some really important stuff that's happening in Canada right now surrounding the bodies of Indigenous children found in the yards of schools that were built and run by the Catholic Church in coordination with the Canadian government. It's horrendous, and Kyle is going to talk about it a lot more in the main episode.
Yes.
That's why we're not talking about it now.
Yes. So there'll be more about that. And I will just copy and paste what you just said into my segment. No. I will talk more about it.
Great.
But I mean, if you're only doing Canadian theme stuff, then is there also going to be a glaring omission about NFL dude?
Yeah.
He came out.
He
That's
came
all.
out.
That's all we need.
He's hot. Fuck me, daddy.
There's a picture of him flexing
Yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah.
You can find it if you look.
Okay. Dan just gave me the so-so hand about the Las Vegas Raiders player that just came out. And
I've
does it
never
change
wanted
it?
to fire you more.
Does it change it for you that he's like 6'7"?
That makes me like him even more, which I already liked him so much.
Okay, great. Now you're conflicted.
Both of us might be 20% more into them, but the effect of that is varying. Okay,
Yep.
great. I'm glad we will.
No, now we're gonna pretend we were gonna talk about Canada and then not, which is pretty much par for the course for Americans.
That's going to be this episode. I practically guarantee you.
News.
I always think our episodes are never going to be good for the people who know about them. Like the target is not the people we're talking about or to.
That is correct. Absolutely.
Here we go.
Here we go. News the first. So
That's it. Dan found the flexing picture.
okay, focus on
You
Canada.
can't-
Focus on Canada.
You can't do that to me. Okay.
Canada's House of Commons on Tuesday, June the 22nd, passed a bill criminalizing LGBT conversion therapy by a vote of 263 to 63. That was a promise that the minority ruling Liberal Party had promised during the election of 2019. And so they're at the end of their legislative agenda here before a summer break that's happening. So there's kind of like a lot that's happening right now in the law in Canada.
Elementary schools and politicians are the only ones that have summer break. Like, it's so weird. Politicians. It's a good thing nothing political happens in the summer because we all, I mean, that's US too. So it's like everyone, but.
Yep. Well, so yeah, this is the first step, just like in the United States, in our system. Just because a bill passes one of the branches of the legislature doesn't mean that it's happening. This now goes to the Senate, but it is finally getting some traction in Canada, and hopefully they will have a full conversion therapy ban sometime next year is likely when it'll happen, if you ask me, but that's just based on
if it does at all. Is it looking likely? I mean, the fact that it passed something is.
Yeah, I mean, I think my knowledge of the Canadian Senate is not as good, Kyle, but I believe the way that with the government is the way it is now, and with Justin Trudeau as the yeah. I said Justin Trudeau's the PM, but that doesn't matter because he's in the House of Commons too. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know, Kyle.
Wow. Well, I mean, everything you said sounded smart to me, but that's not a big like goal to hit when you're talking about other countries' governments or even ours.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think it's going to pass.
Awesome.
Again, I think in 2022, but that's just based on my cursory understanding of the way that shit works in Canada. News the second?
Yeah.
Okay, Toronto Pride.
Hey.
Oh, fuck. I was going to turn on the time cave earlier, we're actually recording this super ass early on the Thursday before the Sunday that we normally record, because basically I know I'm going to be too fucked up to record anything on Sunday because of Pride, and it's going to be 100 degrees here. So we're just phoning it in.
Yeah. Hey,
I got dicks to suck on.
so many dicks. Mike, how was your Pride?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, don't know.
I mean, we were gonna.
Don't know.
Do
And
a
then
time cave,
we didn't talk about, this is our Independence Day for America episode,
Oh,
so
shit.
we're gonna celebrate it. We're talking about Canada.
Well, we could have said at the beginning of that. Yeah, sure. This is all out of order.
Great.
Yeah, we're doing this because it's July. By the time you hear this, July 4th will be this weekend.
Yeah.
Coming up. So happy 4th of July. Let's talk about Canada.
Canada. Okay. Back to the news.
Okay. Toronto. Pride.
I swear I took my pills. Maybe it's just because we're doing this at night instead of during the day. They've worn off. Anyway, so Toronto Pride was the last month in June.
Oh, yeah. You got it.
Yeah. And this year was the 40th anniversary, the historical roots of which I'm going to talk about in the main episode. But it is now one of the world's largest gay pride festivals. This year it was digital, which I thought was really interesting. It was an all online thing because of COVID-19 restrictions. All of their normal in-person things have been canceled. Their in-person traditions included something called the Trans March, the Dyke March, and then the formal Pride Parade, and then an in-person festival like you would kind of expect. All of that was shut down, but the digital version of it was actually really cool. I poked around there today and saw a whole bunch of like lectures and musicians and artists and videos and audio tracks and that kind of thing, including a friend of the show, Andrew Gurza, had a featured appearance in Digital Toronto Pride.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. He hosts the podcast Disability After Dark if you want to check it out. He's in Canada.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
But he's not Canadian. I mean, he just lives in. Isn't he originally from like New York or something?
He's Canadian.
This is not interesting to guess. Okay,
that's going to be funny later too for
He's
a reason.
not Canadian. He lives in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so congratulations, Toronto Pride, on having your 40th one. I wish it could have been in person, but I really appreciate what you did instead.
Oh, awesome.
Great. News the last.
Yeah.
News the last is that Whitby, Ontario-born Drag Race Canada winner Priyanka is going to be on the cover of Elle magazine next month.
Elle magazine Canada or the real one?
This just says so I'll just read this maybe.
If it just says Elle, then
it is.
I mostly just wanted to get my smack in. I did that.
It is Elle Canada.
Oh, hey!
Less than a year after winning the debut season of Canada's Drag Race, Whitby, Ontario-born Priyanka has marked another milestone, landing the cover of a national fashion magazine in Canada. Apparently her signature call-out, "My name is Priyanka, what's my name?" appears on the July cover of Elle Canada, one of the country's top fashion magazines. I'm sure she says it a special way that I didn't just now because I haven't seen it. But
can you do a couple runs at it just to see?
My name is Priyanka. What's my name? I don't know. She's the first drag queen to have a standalone...
That's it? That's the best guess?
Hey, now.
Okay.
She's the first drag queen to have a standalone cover in any of the magazine's 45 editions around the world, according to Elle Canada's editor-in-chief. She is also the first person of Indian descent to win Drag Race in the franchise's global history.
Damn.
She's kicking ass, and she's gorgeous. And she left a career in children's television to appear on Drag Race in 2020 at the age of 28.
That's so... Drag Race having a connection to like the children's reading series, especially like, this past decade, like that's awesome. That connection's really cool.
Yep. And I bet we would have an easier time hooking Canadian famous people on our show. We should...
Oh. Do you think we're big in Canada?
Yeah, well, Canadians, call her and then tell her to call us.
I think first call your friends and tell them to listen to us so we can pretend like we're like good in Canada. Yeah. And that I didn't make that joke about Elle Canada.
She also said...
What's my name?
She said, quote, "I think to have somebody of color make the cover of a national magazine and to be celebrated in such a big way just shows how receptive Canadians are to stories like this and how open they are to seeing people like Priyanka take the stage." Back that out. That's not a quote by her.
I was going to say, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if a drag queen talked in third person, but...
Yeah. She did say that she appreciates that the cover doesn't mention pride or that she's a drag queen. It's just focuses on her and she's Priyanka. It's not like, and by the way, ha ha ha, here's a drag queen, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Right, yeah. Anyway, that's the Canadian news.
The first and only edition of Canadian News.
Until we get drunk and forget and do another one.
Oh, God. I annoyed myself with that. Speaking of...
Canadians?
Yeah, but no, I don't. Speaking of people that probably live
we
in
do
countries,
see some people that give us money in their local currency, which when it's Canadian means we're getting less money. But I really think we could have picked up some Canadian.
No,
Patreon.
I don't know. Okay, so Patreon. I would like to thank the following Patreon members: Christian Smith.
Boo.
No, let's really hang on to this name right now, this moment, this beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Because
I'm so proud of you.
Going away now. Also thank Jim Ragona.
Great.
I wanted to say Ragonia, but there's no Enye. Okay. Matt Remy. I probably got that right.
Matt Remy?
Yep.
Okay.
And he has that upward thing at the end.
Great.
Remy. Aaron Hoffman. Probably nailed that. And Brian Birdsong, but it has a Y, so maybe like it's someone that's like really wants to do the Y, like Byard Song.
Like Beard Song?
Yeah, but that would be no. Okay. I don't know. One of some song. Thank you to everyone who gives us money, gives us money.
In whatever currency you give
in
it
whatever
to us,
currency,
we appreciate it.
We'll accept it. If you want to join to get bonus episodes, bonus content, the one this month is going to be, which I guess will have already been posted as long as I'm on my shit, is about you and I dating couples.
Yeah.
Go to Gayish. Nope. Go to patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
Excellent. You want to talk about Canada?
I think so.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before the show, but like apparently researching the queer history of an entire country is a lot of work.
Yeah, it sure is.
And I nailed it.
Yep.
Just you wait and see.
Yep.
You go first.
Well, I was just going to start with our listenership. Do you have already a ballpark understanding? You already looked it up. How many listeners we have in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Approximately.
No, because I looked at. Okay, no, I don't.
Okay. So it's interesting because just in the last year, Canada has surpassed the United Kingdom to become our second most highest listenership country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it was the UK was number 2 for a really long time, but Canada has rocketed up to number 2.
Which is why maybe why we
and it's now 5.5% of our listeners.
Which is why we did our UK marketing campaign with the Gay and Non-Gay to really connect with our waiting UK audience.
Yep. It turns out that less than 3/4 of our listeners are Americans, only 73%. So it's interesting to me.
Quarters of our listeners. Oh, okay.
Of all Gayish listeners, if there were 4 of them, less than 3 of them would be an American.
It's just so sure.
Great. It'd be 2 of them, and then like everything but
someone's
his dick.
Legs. Oh, that's so rude. Why would you take away the dick from me, Mike?
And then our top 5 cities in Canada, not surprising, our number 1 is Toronto. We have a lot of listeners in Toronto. About 1/5 of our listenership in Canada is from Toronto. Then Vancouver, Montreal, which that a little bit surprises me because of all of the French speaking that happens there. Ottawa and Calgary.
I mean, they have to speak English too.
Yeah, everybody does.
Or Mandarin.
Well, but then they also have to speak French. Like everything in Canada, at least if it's official, is in English and in French. And so when you're up there, you see all kinds of French.
So much effort.
Yeah.
I mean, roughly twice.
Yeah. Double. Even.
The double. Some might even say it's double. Can I tell you some other data?
Tell me some other data, Kyle.
Okay, I thought I was going to be so original by looking at our performance data and telling you about it.
Sure.
I looked at our our data in Spotify just because that had the breakdown that I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because it broke down our individual episodes by listenership.
Wow. Okay.
So I looked at our listenership for US, UK, and Canada.
Okay.
And here's the findings. I looked at our past 10 episodes.
Oh my God, you're going to say that they like different episodes up there. Mm-hmm. Great.
And I looked at our 5 top all-time episodes to see what they like best.
Okay. I mean, number one worldwide is jerking off still. It has been for a long time. Y'all horny bastards.
Yep. This is like so frustrating that if we do a horny episode, you like it better.
Oh, fuck. We were going to do Army Foreskin this time.
Ah, shit.
You're right. That would be number one real fast.
Did we say that in the main episode? Yeah. Okay. We talked about piles of foreskin in the pre thing that I'm posting to Patreon, which is a reason to not join Patreon, I think, because it's disturbing. Anyway, of the past episodes, it's not fair to compare raw numbers, because they released different times, blah, blah, blah. So I looked at the percentage of US, UK, and Canada listeners.
Great.
And in Spotify, UK still leads Canada, except for the episode Bottoms. Bottoms has more raw downloads than the UK.
My goodness, Canada.
Also, of the top 5 episodes, not including first date, very first episode is just going to get more people like, just happen to book that. Then they're like,
and then they say, fuck that.
And then they, bounce off to something better. So other than that, in line with other countries, jerking off is the most downloaded episode, both in terms of the raw number of listeners and the percentage, of listenership compared to Canada's percentage of listenership compared to other episodes. The least listened to, based on both a percentage and the raw numbers, is in order basketball and tops.
What? Tops is the least listened to episode in Canada?
Second least list of our top 5. Tops is very, very small percentage.
Oh, okay.
And verse was somewhere in the middle.
Great.
I thought that was very funny. Canada.
Yeah.
Either you're like the inference, like you're filled with bottoms, or you want to learn a lot about bottoms. Maybe tops already know enough about topping, so they don't need to listen to that episode.
I mean, I know that we don't do super well in Mexico, but I imagine that like in the Canada, United States, Mexico, it would be bottom, verse, top in that order from north to south. So it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me.
Are you joking about the stack of geography
and
truth?
And truth.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's the most self-serving segment we've ever done.
Great.
Do you want to tell me probably about the history, I assume?
Yep, I legit want to tell you about the history, which, as per usual, my like research often starts on Wikipedia, and the timeline of LGBT history in Canada article starts with 1648, and I just really enjoyed it. A gay military drummer.
They wouldn't start it that early in the U.S. like that. That's much earlier than.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to.
A gay military drummer stationed at the French garrison in Ville-Marie, New France, is sentenced to death for sodomy by the local Sulpician priests.
Come, they told me indeed.
After an intervention by the Jesuits in Quebec City, the drummer's life is spared on the condition that he accept the position of New France's first permanent executioner.
You don't have to get killed unless you fucking kill people?
Yeah, you got caught butt fucking. You cannot die because the death penalty is the sentence if you are the one that kills all the people from here on out.
Shit. Did they also force him to top exclusively?
Oh man, yeah, that would be quite the punishment, wouldn't it?
I don't think I would do that. I don't know.
Like, just kill me. I think I couldn't just.
I don't know that I could
drop
a guillotine on people.
Yep. Yep.
If that's how they kill people. I don't know.
Picking out some other interesting things, there was a gay sex scandal in 1810 involving a man named Alexander Wood that I'm going to talk about as a whole segment later. And then in 1869, which that seems really early, of course, buggery is no longer punishable by death in Canada.
We learned about this word once a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I forgot it until this very moment.
Great. I'm so proud. I mean, yeah, basically butt fucking isn't the death penalty anymore, but it is, it's changed to life in prison, which I guess that's
even today?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just in 1869, that's when they changed
okay.
it from the death penalty to.
That'd be so mean to legalize same-sex marriage, but not legalize anal sex.
Yeah. Well, so it took almost exactly 100 years. So it was decriminalized in 1969, which we were still rioting about shit. But
yeah.
But 1969 is when it, their sodomy laws decriminalized homosexual acts. So then in 1977, there were a bunch of raids that happened involving gay bars in Montreal. There was a series of raids that happened in 1981 in Toronto. Both of those series of events get called the Canadian Stonewall, and there's kind of controversial fight over was it Montreal or was it Toronto. Stop calling Montreal the Canadian Stonewall because that's Toronto because of scope, and then Toronto was like, yeah, because ours was bigger and caused more change. And then Montreal's like, no, it didn't cause more change. We immediately passed a law that was anti-discrimination laws against. Why can't I come up with that fucking word? Anti-discrimination laws. Yeah. Anyway, Montreal's was first, that's for sure. But whether it qualifies as Canadian Stonewall or not is up for grabs, I guess.
Doesn't Montreal want to secede anyway?
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
I like how we're taking it down so they don't hear us.
I don't understand the relationship between Quebec and the rest of the country.
I think they don't necessarily love being a part of it.
It's like, hey, we're French. Don't fuck with us. We don't want to be here.
It's like me with my family. Like, I'm kind of a part of it and I have to be, but I don't love being there all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
And you would totally leave if you thought you could get away with it. Anyway, yeah, and then fast forward to there were some gay marriage cases that were working its way through the court system. In 2003, there was a Supreme Court decision that was in favor of same-sex marriage, and that led to full marriage equality countrywide in 2005.
Which I remember that happening and being a sign like, look, Canada is cooler than us. Like we still took a while to get there, and I'm comparing everything to the U.S. because that's my base of knowledge, and apparently just under 3/4 of you is probably also your base of knowledge. But I distinctly that was an important thing for me in being like, yo,
yep.
they got it.
Yep. And then it only took us 10 years to come around. In 2015. In 2012, Nova Scotia passed a Trans Protection Act.
Cool.
Which
does anyone live in Nova Scotia, or is that one of the cold ones?
There's a couple of fishermen and one old lady who's kind of mean.
But except when all the trans people flocked there.
Yep.
Maybe that's the old mean lady.
In 2017, Bill C-16 passed and became law in Canada that added gender identity and gender expression to their list of classes that are protected from discrimination.
Oh, awesome.
And then in 2019, my notes just say, I remember what this is about. It just says 2019 anal sex for everyone.
I don't necessarily want to know more, Mike. Yeah. I guess you can tell me what that means.
In 2019, they passed a law that made they had a law on the books that took anal sex and made it its own category that you could only legally do if you were 18 and older. The age of consent for every other sex in Canada was 16. Huh. That law made anal sex and other kinds of sex all in the same bucket. So 16 for everything in Canada.
If that doesn't sound homophobic, the the effect or the intention behind that, even if it doesn't specify an orientation or anything like or genders of anyone, it's the idea that gay sex is somehow worse. You have to be older to be able to do it. Like, and honestly, I'd rather if you're younger for you to have anal sex than like, you know, maybe have a baby. So like if we're picking, least like oral and anal should be like celebrated.
Yeah. That's dangerous.
You don't think celebrating kids' anal sex is something we should keep really exploring, digging deep on?
Oh, man. You know what I forgot to do, though?
What?
Pause in the middle there to talk about this other horrible shit that you were going to talk about.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we already mentioned that I'll be talking a little bit more about the schools that were there that, you know, are akin to, like, cultural genocide of the first world people. But
yeah. Yes.
I forgot to mention when we were talking about Quebec, we are recording this on Saint Jean Baptiste's Day.
Great.
Which
I forgot my hat.
Your Jean Baptiste hat?
Yeah.
I forgot my underwear.
Yeah.
It like.
What is that day, Kyle?
It seems like it originally was like Thanksgiving-ish, and I felt very weird about it. Like celebrate when the Europeans got here, which is like anytime you celebrate Europeans doing anything, it's probably shitty.
And also Canada has Thanksgiving in October.
But it just reminded me of that. Not anyway. I didn't know if it was shitty. Yeah. But then later, Quebec people, don't at me. I don't. But then later someone changed it because influenced by St. Patrick's Day and wanted their own cultural celebration. So it's celebrated in Quebec, and apparently they get excited and kind of mean towards like Justin Trudeau showed up and they like threw shit at him.
Oh,
like,
great.
Yeah,
awesome.
But I don't know. I think it's like this very important cultural thing for them that I'm like kind of being a little bit shitty about because I don't know the like implications or how people feel about it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be great or it could be terrible.
Okay.
Just like when you hook up with me.
Or hook up with hook up with a French Canadian.
Right. What do they call? They call themselves like Quebecers or something that
Quebecers.
I don't. Yeah, I would. I'll
That's
just
not
do
right.
that. No, I would rather. I'm just going to call them that from now on.
Quebecois?
The Quebecois are a political party. I don't think that's.
But I think that might be what they call them. I don't know. We're going to go with. We're going to go with Quebecers.
Quebecers.
Saint Jean Baptiste Day is a weekend-long celebration of Francophone identity.
Ooh.
Oh, so what
French
I said?
speakers?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Eat cheese and.
I don't think it's. I think it's French Canadian.
We truly are a podcast about stereotypes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anything we say that sounds like we're making a stereotype about Canada is a satirical reference to the assumptions we all bring to Canada.
God bless you, Kyle. I really appreciate you. My internet's broken too, or I would look it up.
No, please don't. I'm glad. Should I tell you about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. This is what I was alluding to in the news.
Yeah.
And, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, and thank you to we reached out to the Canadian Discord server or the channel within our Discord server.
We made a Canadians only channel in Discord so that they would leave everyone else the hell alone.
Did we or did someone else? Whenever
I made it because I thought it was hilarious.
You did? That's very funny. Okay. So thank you for bringing this up because it's very much, as you mentioned, in the news right now and an important, for me, like Black Lives Matter was a big thing for me.
Sure.
So that it's like, we all need to like really like figure this out. Like, it seems like this is very big, is in the news, but also needs to be in the news more. And essentially it is, I'm going to talk about it very briefly.
Sure.
I will absolutely not do it justice. I will tell you about a place you can go for more, but like, but I think it's valuable to say it rather than try to avoid it completely.
Sure.
So, the Truth and Reconciliation is a commission that they established in Canada to look into what is essentially the cultural genocide of first world or indigenous people?
First Nation.
First Nation. First World. First Nation.
First World is like Africa. First Nation is the people that lived there first.
Oh, thank you.
It's plural. First Nations.
First Nations.
Yeah.
Man, I looked up a bunch of stuff about this, and then here we go. So it is...
Also, that was very colonialist of me to say First World is Africa. That was what popped into my head.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Is that true? Or
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, okay.
Aren't you also saying it backwards? Like first world countries and third world countries?
Yeah.
So first world country would be like Canada.
Yeah, that's true.
So the genocide part. There was something that is commonly called the Canadian Indian residential school system. Obviously, Indian is like part of the problem. That's like super shitty. Like it's like, hey, Europeans discovered everything, and like, you know, it's that viewpoint. But I saw that all the time, referring to, even in today's news articles, the Canadian Indian residential school system.
I mean, we still have the BIA. That's like one of our main agencies in the federal government in the United States, the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
And in Canada, they're moving over to Aboriginal as the like definition. And to me, I was like, ooh, like when I saw that word, I was like, no, I don't think. But I read something by someone who like studies this shit, and it was apparently not as like the names. Anytime you talk about this, it's like, well, there's so many different tribes and groups, and like you can never say cohesively everyone does this or says this. So like, you know, there's so many generalizations that come along with this. During the residential school's 120-year history, an estimated 100... I should tell you what it is first. The idea was basically trying to get rid of the indigenous culture, traditions, values, and make them Christian and anglicize them, which, you know, is a common thing with colonialism. That's kind of the end goal, is to convert people, mostly religion, but like to our ways of thinking. Yeah.
I think it's important to also recognize that it wasn't spun that way. Like,
oh, sure.
You know, they didn't say we're here to destroy culture. They said we're here to assimilate them into our.
Yeah. Like our Thanksgiving, it's like, like we all shared recipes.
Right, exactly.
It's like how they pitched it to us in school.
Yeah.
During this program, estimated 150,000 children attended these schools. And during its 120-year history, an estimated 3,200 died. And part of what's in the news is digging up some of these sites, like in the yards, in the backyards of these residential schools, and finding the bodies of several hundred children's bodies that they're finding. And that's this happened. I mean, not actually, I was going to say long ago, but not even that long ago.
It was like the 50s, I think. That was
the last one ended in 1991. So that's not to say like their popularity was then, but like that's when it ended. So it's not. They established this Truth and Reconciliation Commission in 2008. So like this is a recent reckoning that's happening.
Yeah.
Of those that are still alive, almost 32,000 people reported sexual assault or serious sexual cases that then are investigated. So horrible. You know, you're so right. Like the idea was, hey, let's teach people and let's learn. And like the truth of it was horrendous, terrible conditions. I read things about people committing suicide because of being there. Like this is a horrible place to be. Sure. One of the critiques of the discussion about this that's happening is the fact that people are thinking about it or referring to it as something that is in the past rather than something that's still taking place today. The destruction or the lack of recognition of indigenous cultures that still happens today.
Yep, absolutely.
For example, I mentioned one of the last groups that operated these residential schools was in 1981. That group, though, that evangelical Christian group, still runs youth programs in Northern Ontario. And there was an article that came out, I think, a couple years ago that reference that kind of highlighted this pamphlet they had called Freedom from Destructive Spirits. And it said, quote, these clean spirits can cause all kinds of these unclean spirits can cause all kinds of sexual sins, such as homosexuality, perversion, and lust. This uncleanliness is a result of rebellion in man's heart. God hates this kind of uncleanliness and will punish it.
Great. Sure. Yeah.
Also, women's non-binary hearts.
Yeah.
Good news. You are exempt from this uncleanliness. Yeah. So like, even like,
is Canadian tax money going towards that, or is it just the organization?
Man, if there's ever a story, you can't ask me any
sure. Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry.
That is a very good question. Very fair. And yeah, again, we're like thinking about the U.S. where like, you know, churches are written off as nonprofits in spite of all the lobbying they do against LGBT people. So, I mean, one of the things that's important to realize and remember, and again, as the Canadians, thank you, on the Discord channel pointed out, like this directly impacts LGBT people.
Yeah.
And you'll find that anytime you're going after a marginalized group, anytime you have colonization happening, LGBT people are part of it and affected.
Yep. Yep. And I do know that as part of that cultural heritage being erased was all of these the two-spirit identities were eradicated as part of this as well, bringing like Christian puritanical ideas of sexuality. And
interesting you say that,
okay,
Michael
great.
Johnson, because
Awesome.
Jeremy Dutcher, the Aboriginal Projects Coordinator at Egale, Canada, said that in an article, it wasn't a direct quote, but said that Europe and Christianity are directly at fault for the homophobia and transphobia that two-spirit people face today. It talked about how there's something people that are transphobic. Again, two-spirit people are not trans, but like, you know, it's a gender identity that's hard to categorize in our, you know, LGBT, which is why they have like, you know, 2S in the LGBT plus, like, if you look at the full moniker, it is a separate like identity. But anyway, like people don't understand that gender is not binary and that it's not always been frowned upon. And before this, you know, before the push for Christianity came, before the settlers came, is settler a shitty word? Because like that sound anyway, before the like
Colonialists.
Yeah, the colonialists came. Two-Spirit was a revered group. It was a respected group. It didn't have the negative associations until people came and set up these schools and tried to destroy their heritage to enforce the Christian beliefs.
Yep.
So LGBT people, two-spirit people are absolutely affected by this, and it sucks. And so there is a podcast called the Two-Spirited Podcast hosted by Margaret Robinson. It seemed like it was part of a like study or dissertation or something that she was working on to gather the stories of two-spirited people. It's not on a podcasting app. It's on a separate website. There are maybe 6 or 8 episodes, so easy to, you know, just pop in and listen to, though. Margaret Robinson is herself a two-spirited person and bisexual. So, you know, I've not listened to it yet because I just found it out, but great place to go to hear two-spirited people's stories.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Did I cover all? I don't know. There's probably so much to that. And yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna painfully segue and talk about this sex scandal in 1810.
Is it a fun sex scandal? Or
I sure think so. I'm going to talk to you about a dude named Alexander Wood.
I mean, Alexander Wood.
Yep. He was born in Scotland but moved to Canada in 1793, settling in the town of York, which is now called Toronto.
Alexander Wood.
Yep. Exactly. So here's the thing. So the part I don't understand is why he. Oh, hold on. Oh, he was appointed a city magistrate in 1800. Okay, so in 1810, he was investigating a rape case. The victim, referred to as Miss Bailey, came to him claiming that she did not know the identity of her attacker, but that she had scratched her assailant's penis during the assault. So he personally inspected the genitals of a number of suspects for injury and And so he took this. This is like an excuse to go around town looking at dicks. Yeah.
No, I'm just. I need you to keep talking.
There's no evidence on the public record that he acted improperly.
Well, I mean, what you just said seems highly improper.
Nor is he ever identified as gay. But then again, as we've talked about, that's problematic because having gay as an identity wasn't really a thing. But there were contradictory rumors that started to emerge about his conduct. That included that Miss Bailey didn't exist at all, that he just made up her and the case so that he could just go fondle people. Yeah. Anyway, so he got ran out of town. Basically, he moved back. A buddy of his said basically, we won't charge you with sodomy if you just get the fuck out. So he went back to Scotland. But then he came back to Canada in 1812. Like that didn't take anyway. But what's really interesting about all of that is that they started calling him Molly Wood, which Molly was slang for a gay guy, and the gayborhood in Toronto used to be called Molly Woods Bush, and I don't know why they didn't keep that name.
For the obvious, I think maybe you do know.
I do know, but I like Molly Woods Bush. That's pretty great. Instead of going to Capitol Hill, we would go to Molly Woods Bush. Come on now.
God, and the term Molly for a gay, that's one I want to bring back.
Yep. So in 2005, apparently, the gayborhood, which is now called the Church and Wellesley Gay Village, the business association put up a statue of him, honoring him as the forefather of Toronto's gay community. It's a $200,000 statue, and that cost was
honoring him,
shared by the business association and the city of Toronto. And there is a rose on the lapel of his coat, which is sort of a cheeky reference to Pierre Trudeau, Justin's dad, who was the prime minister when homosexuality was decriminalized. He always wore a rose. And,
I thought you were going to say it was like a flower in the Fuck Me Daddy bouquet that he received.
It is. I'm so happy the Fuck Me Daddy bouquet came back.
I had to try.
Anyway, I want to go to that statue.
That is
just because.
That is insane. And I have so many feelings that are so contradictory that
Yep.
I mean,
this is a refrain you always hear all the time. He never married. Neither had any of his brothers or sisters. So when he died, Scottish law and Canadian law were in conflict about who should get all of his shit.
Oh.
So it had to go to court. But
a UN court? That's it. I don't know why.
It says it took 7 years after his death for the Court of Session and the British House of Lords to decide that his estate would be divided up by Scottish law. And so his first cousin, once removed, got all of the money from the estate.
God, I want to have a gay, super, estranged, long-term, far-away uncle that I just, then get some shit from randomly.
Yeah, but he was a confirmed bachelor, which that was always code for dude was a mo.
This is miniseries on HBO worthy.
I think so too.
That's so good. I'm so intrigued and horrified, and there's a fucking statue. Out of all the people you could put a statue up, someone who might have just gone around town sexually assaulting people, but then again, it's a very creative idea. It's horrible, but it's that's a very creative approach.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Absolutely.
How do I talk about anything else now?
I don't know. What's next?
Nothing. Jesus. What's his name? Something Wood?
Alexander Wood.
Alexander Wood. Jesus, he was gay. Man, should I talk about current Canada? Are you done with history?
I'm not done with history.
Oh, why don't I have Gata and stuff on what's the dealio with current Canada. So you should tell me your last history of Canada. Okay. Although if it's not as good as Alexander Wood, I may not listen.
I mean, So what gets often referred to as Canadian Stonewall, and that was actually something that the media started calling Canadian Stonewall, and
I heard there were two, and they're kind of in conflict.
Yeah, exactly. Is the one that happened in Toronto, and that was February the 5th in 1981.
By talking about this one, are you pissing off the Montreal lights?
Yeah, probably.
We've already done that enough, so we should really side with Toronto, I think, if we're going to lean into anything.
So it's interesting. Operation Soap is what they called it, and instead of saying Stonewall, if you want to like turn a Canadian on about your knowledge of gay history in Canada, talk about Operation Soap. But Operation Soap was a raid that the Toronto police did against 4 gay bathhouses in Toronto. The whole thing was kicked off because of a murder. There was a shoeshine boy who was an immigrant. His name was Emmanuel Jacques, and he was murdered on Yonge Street, which was sort of the seedy part of town, which that's a gay ghettos usually start in like the seedy underbelly of cities as they're developing. And that was also the case here in Toronto. The mayor at the time was John Sewell, and he actually was a strong supporter of gay rights in 1978 through 1980. When he got booted out of office, then basically this police cleanup of this dirty part of town then could include gay establishments. They targeted these bathhouses with, all of the bullshit public decency laws. At 11 o'clock at night, 150 police simultaneously raided the club baths, the Romans 2 Health and Recreation Spa, the Richmond Street Health Emporium, and the Barracks in Toronto.
If that wasn't spelled with B-E-A-R, I would be so angry.
No, I like Army Barracks. I'm sorry. Army Foreskin.
Coming soon.
They arrested almost 300 men. Which became the record. That was the largest mass arrest in Canadian history since 1970 during the October crisis. But that record from 1981 stood until 2006 because the Stanley Cup playoffs in Edmonton got out of control and they arrested a whole bunch more people. So
I don't know the more Canadian thing you could have said.
Exactly. So that turned into rather like Stonewall, a bunch of demonstrations that got to be about 3,000 people were protesting just the very next day. They blocked traffic at a bunch of big intersections downtown, and it just built over time. And the police were fighting back, and there were more raids, but basically that was the kickoff for what became Toronto's Pride Week now. And that was 81. That's why this is their 40th year, because of this event that kicked off all of this stuff. Most of the charges were dropped, or they just didn't stick. Some of the owners got in trouble for running that kind of an establishment. One of the bathhouses, I forget which one, but I was reading, was so badly damaged it had to close forever. They fucked that place up while they were in there. There was a controversy about whether Attorney General Roy McMurtry had approved the raids, and he denied it. But it's like, did Bill Barr make that church photo op happen or not, kind of a thing?
Who ordered the evacuation of the East Precinct in Seattle?
Yep. He denied it, but then
it was Carmen Beth.
Later, as Chief Justice of Ontario, he actually wrote the 2003 decision that was in favor of same-sex marriage. So maybe he really didn't, or he had changed his mind, or whatever. Anyway, in 2019, the Toronto police finally formally apologized.
Oh, sorry about that. Did they send the like Demi Lovato song "Sorry Not Sorry" to them? Like, I don't.
That is the very brief and probably wrong Operation Soap, and its connection to Toronto Pride.
Can you wait to say the brief and very wrong until the very end of the episode to just recap everything we did?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. There is an author, Matthew Hayes, who wrote for The Walrus an article in 2019 where he basically lays down his assessment that calling what happened in Toronto Canadian Stonewall is wrong, that belongs to Montreal. That series of events happened in 1977. The police raided 2 downtown Montreal gay bars, Trucks Bar and Le Mystique. They arrested 146, which that was then the record for
so many records.
Mass arrests since that 1970. So anyway, there was this thing called the October Crisis, and Pierre Trudeau had to arrest a bunch of people. Ooh, that's maybe dangerous, but a bunch of people were arrested as a result of that in 1970. This thing in 77 did not surpass that, but was the largest since then, but less than what happened
since
in Toronto.
Then the Stanley Cup or something.
Yeah, and then 2006 the Stanley Cup, and then that actually resulted in almost immediately. So that happened in October. Yeah, that happened October 22nd of 1977. By December, Quebec's National Assembly amended their human rights charter to include sexual orientation as a prohibited form of discrimination.
Wow.
So unlike Toronto, where it was this building thing and eventually change came and there was a lot of organizing and stuff, this was like in 2 months.
Yep.
Fuck it. And they changed it as much as they could in the jurisdiction that they were in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if calling Operation Soap Canadian Stonewall is okay or not, but
and like maybe they don't need, I think, at least if you're talking to Americans, to say that these two events are in the same vein as Stonewall is helpful for us to, like, in anything you want to know, like, how much do I care? Or like, there's so many, I could learn a million different things if you learn an event, like, so I think that's useful. And maybe we don't have to, maybe they had 2 things that were that level of importance.
Yep.
They have 2 languages. They can have 2 Stonewalls.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great. Exactly right. I will also add, I think it's interesting that, like, they decriminalized sodomy in 1969, and we wouldn't until Lawrence v. Texas, which was much later.
2003, maybe?
But then we started rioting and fucking shit up at Stonewall in 69.
Yeah.
And then Canada did, like, 8 and 13 years later. So apparently we like to fuck shit up first.
Great. But then, like, be very slow to do anything about it? Yeah. That actually sounds about right. Can I tell you about... Your stuff was very interesting this time, Mike.
Thanks.
Congrats. I'm glad for the change in pace.
I appreciate that.
Sorry, I'm being shitty to Canada, so I have to be shitty to you too. Okay, I'm going to talk about the current Canadian population.
Okay, do it.
13%. Oh, this is a study conducted by Crop for the benefit of the Foundation.
I swear to God, if you don't tell me how much foreskin there is, I'm going to be pissed.
20.
Great.
You looked that up earlier? Percentage of foreskin? What? Oh, you can look it up now and tell me after I give you these actual statistics. The Fondation Jasmine Roy Anti-Bullying Foundation, 2017 study. 13% of Canadians are, according to them, ostensibly belong to the LGBT community. I don't know what the word ostensibly means in this context.
It's a cunty way to say probably.
Yeah,
or maybe, or probably not. I don't know.
Or are they like picking some people that like might not, and that's shitty to them? Like, because sometimes we're shitty and excluding people. I don't know what that means, but I just put it here because it seemed 54% of LGBT respondents had not come out at work. And 45% had not come out to their classmates.
You know what I'm going to ask?
Oh boy, sure.
How does that compare to the States?
I didn't look up anything about the U.S.
All right,
because, Mike, I'm putting my foot down. Everything doesn't have to be compared to the U.S. I didn't look it up. That was a lot of work. But I'm taking a cultural stand.
Like half of gay people are not out in Canada.
That's a bunch.
Which is commonly considered like one of the most gay-friendly countries in the entire world, and it's still that.
So if people don't think it's as big of an issue, or don't think there are as many, don't know any gay people or whatever, like, it just might be a bunch of people are in the closet. Yeah. Like double how many people you know that are gay. And LGBT, I should say. For trans people, asexuals, bisexuals, pansexuals, anywhere from a third to half of their family did not believe when they came out.
Good Lord.
or ignored it when they came out.
Good Lord.
I mean, again, don't know the U.S. stats. Sure, that happens here too. Like, if someone says something like that to you, like, to not believe is like,
Yeah. You're making that shit up.
How do you just like, oh, you're pansexual?
Yeah.
Gonna go out on about my life. I have no reaction to that, and we'll never talk to you about it again.
Well, somebody said something that's not this. That's the not sinister version of that. That like in British Columbia, it's so crazy liberal, especially in Vancouver. I think it was somebody from Vancouver in our Discord was saying like, you say, "Hey, I'm gay," and people are like, "Whatever." Like in a just genuinely don't see that as a problem or something that's concerning.
I hate that.
Okay.
No. That is absolutely something that people say, but so many people tout that as a positive thing. Like, oh, it's just accepted. You come out and it isn't a big deal. But when a person comes out to you, especially, and if they are making a moment of it, then they are telling you an important thing. Mm-hmm. And these are not all the same. If someone says they're engaged, if someone says they have cancer, if someone, like, when someone says something that is big and weighing on them and they finally decided to tell you, that's important to them. So even if 100% of people accepted LGBT people, a friend is telling you something big to them.
Yeah.
And you need to treat it as such.
Yeah.
Meaning that is important. You should follow up with them after the fact and keep talking to them because you're just hearing about it, but they've been thinking about it for a long fucking time. Like, unless you've been involved in all the steps along the way of their exploration, they've probably been thinking about this a lot more than you. So that's why I don't like no one cares, and then they move on. It's like, you give it the respect it deserves.
Okay.
Regardless of how accepting you are.
I think I agree. I'm just what I can't quite get my head around is like when I think of like the ideal state, like what is utopia for humanity, and it's where people just fuck or they don't, and it's fine. That it isn't a big deal to even say because it's just like you might as well be saying I have blonde hair, I bang dudes. Like that's the same level of innocuousness, and if there are pockets of culture that are getting there, we shouldn't discourage that. If
we think of our ideal state, I agree that and if you are young and learning this, we even hear about these cases where someone at the age of 3 years old knows they're trans and it's just who they are. Like they don't even need to, they already came out because they didn't even have a choice. Yeah, that makes sense. They don't have to come out again. Like it's just like, it's already there. But for someone, I would say and even in fully accepting, totally down, ideal state, it can still take time to realize these things yourself for whatever reason, or come to terms with it, or any of that. So I think people that, if it's new information when I'll use me as when you're 20, or if you figure it out and you're 18 and you say it, it's still a realization and a moment and a thing that should be celebrated and encouraged, and it is not as simple as just, oh, that's fine, let me move on.
Yeah Right.
Okay. This is I thought really interesting. Non-Caucasian people have a harder time than other members of the LGBT community due to their orientation or gender identity, especially with their families. So that made sense to me.
I was going to say, you get to the confusing part.
Indigenous LGBT people, this study said they set themselves apart with their tendency to live more comfortably with their sexual orientation or gender identity than the average member of the LGBT community.
Interesting.
Right?
Interesting.
And you think about all this shitty stuff that the colonizers did, that Christians did to force their beliefs. Maybe there's something there that they were able to hold on to in a great way, that you can't completely destroy a culture as much as you try. That's just my guess, or just me thinking about it. But
if we haven't already said it a million times, the United States is in no position to be pointing fingers at Canada in terms of subjugation of First Nations. But I do wonder, I would wonder what that data looks like in the United States, right? And like
acceptance of indigenous peoples, like LGBT status. Yeah. That was a very surprising data point.
Interesting.
Other things you should know about Canada.
Sure. Yeah.
Elliot Page is Canadius.
Yeah.
Canadius?
Canadius.
Rufus Wainwright is Canadius. Katie Lang is Canadius. Luke McFarlane, which I only included because I love him because he played Scotty on Brothers and Sisters. He's Canadius. There's a boxer, Mark Leduc, that's Canadian. I just wanted to put that in there because he's just like that's a weird oddball thing. He won a silver medal at the Olympics. He tried. Tim Hortons, founded in Hamilton, Ontario, but sold to Burger King. It's an American country, so technically no longer Canadian. And there's been a bunch of shit that's kind of like made Tim Hortons be less and less popular. So I think the idea that, we always joke about Tim Hortons might not be as true as it used to be.
Maybe so.
And finally, and most importantly, screw all the indigenous shit I talk about. This is the most important thing. PornHub is based there.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Canada.
They're based in Montreal. Someone in our Discord said that Montreal has a reputation as the country's sex and party capital. There are, I think, volcanically hot dudes was the descriptor, something along that lines, who are very into hookups. First live show will be in Montreal, everybody.
Yeah,
we're so excited. I love PornHub, and not for I don't use them very regularly for the jerk in it. Their data, they release a lot of very interesting data. They have PornHub Insights, which is such a great resource for people's porn usage. They're very knowledgeable, liberal, point out what the conservative states in the U.S. are doing. Sure. So I love them, love that they're based in Canada. I think that's awesome. They're owned by MindGeek, who is headquartered in Canada. MindGeek also operates RedTube, YouPorn, Brazzers, Men.com, Reality Kings, Sean Cody, and a site I never heard of, WhyNotBuy.com.
B-I?
B-I.
Yeah. Spell by.
Oh my God. Yes. And I went there and I immediately recognized many of the porn stars from my gay porn.
Yeah.
Usage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
PornHub, very Canadian.
Well, that sort of dovetails-ish.
Where are you going?
Well, so I was going to do a segment called The Gayest Thing to Come Out of Canada. And my answer was Brendan Fraser, because I had a sexual awakening to him in Encino Man and in George of the Jungle.
Oh, George of the Jungle? Man.
Right?
Man, he was all oiled up.
And ripply.
Yeah,
and kind of wild and crazy. I was into that. Okay, so
yeah,
but then
it's jungly, he would just go fucking to town like an animal.
Yeah, big time. The only problem is he's not Canadian, and so when I looked up his bio and found out that he wasn't Canadian, because I was sure he was Canadian.
Why did you think he was Canadian?
Because he is a Canadian citizen. He's American. He was born in Indianapolis, but he is a Canadian citizen and went to school in Canada. So. Yeah.
Some of the most famous Canadians, as per the list that I just read, Rufus Wainwright was born in New York.
Kyle. We should have coordinated on this, because I have a game for you called Canadian?
Okay. Oh, no, this would be good to see if I actually looked up the people, because I looked at a list on ranker.com and I only picked out the people I cared about. So there are a lot of people I didn't.
Great.
And so it'll be interesting to see who I actually cared about. Okay.
So there are 4 categories. There's good/hot. Bad.
I just heard the mic clip at that. Sorry. Okay.
Good/hot.
Okay.
Bad. Funny. Or musical. Which category do you want first?
I want. Give me the bad first. Let's get through that.
Okay. Bad. And I'll tell you why they're bad. So, and remember, the question is Canadian?
And is Canadian born in Canada or has a citizenship there?
For the purposes of this game, it is, were they born in Canada?
That was something I was thinking about playing this game with you and knew you were going to ask.
Great.
And anyway, okay.
Let's start with Elon Musk.
Are all these people that people think are Canadian? I had never heard of him being Canadian, but
He is a Canadian citizen, but he was born in South Africa. He's also an American citizen and a South African citizen.
Okay, I have heard. Yeah. Okay. I'm with the game now.
Mark Zuckerberg.
He's in the bad.
Yeah.
No, I love the bad category that you've created. Mark Zuckerberg. No, he's not Canadian.
Correct. White Plains, New York. He's an American.
God, White Plains is the perfect place for him to be born.
I put him in the funny category, and then I moved him to bad. Jim Carrey.
Why'd you move him to bad?
Because he's an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, and he's played gay people. But I don't know. I don't think he's Canadian.
He is Canadian. He was born in Ontario, although he is an American citizen.
Okay.
U.S. Senator Ted Cruz.
No, not Canadian. No.
Ted Cruz was born in Canada.
Shut the fuck up.
Ted Cruz was born in Canada. He is an American citizen and quite publicly renounced his Canadian citizenship in 2016.
Hates immigrants.
Because he wanted to run for president, and you have to be a natural-born citizen of the United States in order to run for president. The question of the legality of him running for president is still very much not decided because he was not born on American soil, and the phrase natural-born citizen has not been fully fleshed out in terms of jurisprudence in this country. So
imagine the fact that Barack Obama is the one that we all have been researching as to whether he's American born, and here this is highlighting how America is no better than Canada in terms of
They gave us Ted Cruz. Fuck you, Canada. Okay.
God, that's true.
Last but not least in the bad category, and she's not bad, it's just because she's a politician, U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth.
I have no idea who that is, and I haven't said anyone yet, so I'll say Canadian.
However, she was born in Thailand, and it's interesting because she's one of the very few members of Congress who is a naturalized citizen rather than born here or a citizen by virtue of her parentage. Okay, you did.
What party does she belong to?
Democrat.
Oh, good. Okay. Did very poorly on that.
Okay, I don't want to do all of these, or the show will run very, very long. Would you want to do one more category?
Yeah, let's do the hot ones.
Good/hot. Okay, here we go. Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future.
Oh, Canadian.
He is Canadian. He's born in Edmonton, although he is an American citizen. Ryan Gosling.
Canadian.
He's born in London, Ontario. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
If he's not American, what is America anymore?
He was born in Hayward, California. Okay. He is an American citizen. However, he is also a Canadian citizen.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I put this one in here for you, Sandra Oh.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ryan Reynolds, which is
from Grey's Anatomy. Sandra Oh.
Not. Yeah. Oh, is she Canadian? I'll say Canadian.
She is Canadian. She was born in Ontario. She is also an American citizen.
Wow, she is good/hot.
Keanu Reeves?
American.
Nothing about him is American. He was born in Beirut, Lebanon, but he was raised in Toronto and is a Canadian citizen.
Okay, well, I didn't technically... American was actually non-Canadian. Shit, that's so Americentric. That was really reflective of...
Ryan Reynolds and Elliot Page, you already said and already know. Here's a brief...
Wait, Ryan Reynolds, deaf Canadian, right?
Ryan Reynolds was born in Vancouver, British Columbia, but he is also an American citizen. And Elliot Page, he's Canadian, as you already said, although he was born in Nova Scotia.
Sorry, I'm still mumming over
great.
Ryan Reynolds.
Great.
Give me a moment.
Okay, great. Yeah, I like this game. Sex and the City cast members, here we go. Sarah Jessica Parker.
What? American? Oh, shit, I did it again. Non-Canadian.
She is an American citizen. She was born in Ohio. Kim Cattrall?
Okay, hold on. Let me think. I'm gonna just, for speed's sake, gonna say the only one is Charlotte York. Shit, I don't know her. I'm gonna say she's the only Canadian.
I didn't look up the other two, actually. Kim Cattrall was born in England, but she is a triple threat. She's a Canadian, American, and UK citizen.
Wow, you picked the two that matter.
Ish, in that she was a UK citizen first, and then later became a Canadian citizen because they moved to Canada when she was very, very young. And then she became an American citizen in 2016 so that she could vote.
For Cynthia Nixon, perhaps?
Maybe.
Who knows?
And last two, Jason Priestley from 90210. Canadian, although he is an American citizen. And last but not least, Friends star Matthew Perry.
Oh, a non-Canadian.
He's from Massachusetts, I believe. He's an American citizen, but he was raised in Canada and does have Canadian citizenship. His mom was Canadian, and she moved him there.
Wow.
As a kid. Yeah. Anyway,
is it just me, or like I felt like even just the few I looked at, but now like especially hearing all of these, I feel like we just like to pretend everyone is American and kind of ignore the Canadian roots that people have. And maybe that's just broadly like anyone who's cool. We want to pretend like they're only American and have no other roots or culture or heritage or anything. Yeah. Is that like? Yeah. Do you get that vibe too? Like,
yeah. I also think that there's maybe a little bit of I forget it's like 90% of Canadian citizens. No, 90% of the population of Canada lives within 100 miles of the U.S. border.
Oh, sure. Because it gets chilly.
Exactly. There's some of that, but also I think we have a really very special and close relationship with Canada for a number of historical reasons and for geographical reasons.
Is it still the largest uncontested border between two countries?
That would make sense. Yeah, sure.
I think I heard that somewhere.
Sure.
But I grew up in Texas, so who knows what history I've learned.
There's also, I think, so much... I mean, they don't really have accents. You can, like, if they say some words, you can hear it, but like they mostly pass as American, which that's an awful thing to say. But
passing, American presenting.
But that's, you know what I'm saying, right? And like Schitt's Creek, all of the principal cast is Canadian, and it was filmed in Canada. It started as a Canadian project, but there's nothing about the show that's overtly Canadian. That could be a Midwestern town, right? Like, and the reason that works is because we really are fundamentally like the same in a lot of ways that matter for media.
But also, if it was overtly Canadian, I bet you it would be less popular among Americans. I bet we would be like, whoa, a Canadian show. Like, tricking people into thinking it's American is probably the number one way to gain popularity.
Yep.
Says Alanis Morissette, maybe.
Great. Oh, I forgot about this. Shit.
Crete.
Can you write what you think all of those are? What the province is?
Fuck you.
I just handed Kyle a empty map of Canada. We're not going to do this on the air, but I'm going to have him fill out what he thinks all of those little states are.
I knew you were going to do this, and I'm so fucking annoyed because you know I'm...
Do your homework. It's going to be good.
I'm going to do it after.
All right.
I'm not doing it on the air. Hold on. Let me see if I have anything else. Mike's a pastor.
Mike, I'm shocked William Shatner didn't make your list.
Yeah. I stayed away from the Star Trek cast.
You've William Shatnered in your pants before,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
I was just going to mention a couple other things, suggestions. There's plenty more things that we could have talked about. There's a podcast called The Village. It started as a season within Undercover The Village, but it is a separate podcast called The Village. It is hosted by Justin Ling, who the first season he investigates and talks about the Toronto serial killer Bruce McArthur, a horrifying serial killer that the gay community told the police about and they ignored him. So that's really interesting to learn about. I started listening to it. Very good, very well done. Couldn't mentally just, it was during the pandemic I found out about it. I was like, I don't necessarily need to learn about gay murderers,
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get there sooner. And then his newest season is actually about two trans Canadian women, at least one of which was a sex worker that were murdered, Laura Wells and Cassandra Doe. So we'll keep going and apparently and present different Canadian crimes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan.
You guys asked about circumcision.
Yeah. Great.
So it comes as no surprise, of course, that Canada has much lower rates of circumcision than the U.S.
Yeah. That means we will too in 10 years.
I hope so.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. They are falling in the U.S., particularly in the West. the Midwest still has the highest rates of circumcision.
That makes sense.
Canada overall, 31.9% as of a 2006-2007 study. 31.9% of Canadian men were circumcised. That varies by province. If you're looking for uncut dick, Nova Scotia, Northwest Territories, and Quebec are good options.
Kyle's writing him on his map, so he knows that those are things he needs to put on the map.
Alberta.
Sorry, you said Nova Scotia, Quebec, and what?
Northwest Territories.
And these are all provinces that you're telling us about?
Oh my God. I didn't realize what was happening here. I'm not saying any more because I hope that he forgets the name of the one that borders the state of Washington.
So
What does that stand for?
Oh, yeah.
Before Christ.
Kyle wrote BC, but I don't trust that he knows what it stands for.
British Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Nova Scotia has the most...
First world.
Nova Scotia has the most uncut dick.
No, let's see.
Nova
Scotia does, yeah.
That's impressive.
Only 6.8%.
Whoa.
Yeah, real low.
So many uncut.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry, our next tour is going to be in all of Nova Scotia. I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe in the middle part? I don't know where.
Halifax? Is there a gay bar in Halifax? I would do that.
And just to give you a contrast to the U.S., which we've been doing incessantly anyway,
Some judgment in that.
the World Health Organization estimates the overall male... Oh my God. I'm so hot and I'm so tired. The World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that the overall male circumcision rate in the U.S. is somewhere between 76 and 92%.
Wow.
And Western Europe, rates tend to be less than 20%.
Wow.
So
if you want to hook up with an uncircumcised Canadian, take home 3 guys, and odds are 2 of them will be uncircumcised.
yeah, I learned
Men's and Molly's is a gay bar in Halifax.
There we go.
We're going.
Oh my God.
I learned that in Australia there was like a sort of generational shift in circumcision. I learned that when we were in New Orleans for Pride 48, talking to R.T. Cruz.
Oh, he has his foreskin probably.
No, I don't think he does, because he said like people over a certain age, it didn't shift until like I think the 90s or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Did we do it? We did all of Canada?
We did so much of Canada, I'll say.
Let's never speak of it again.
Once the border opens, I'm going to do some more of Canada,
Then
and I'm going to be talking about that in my Patreon segment.
Then your border will open.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you're going to talk about a beach? Is that what you said?
Bitch.
Let's go to the beach. Let's go to the
I am going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the
what you gonna say? Have a drink.
largest nude beach in North America.
Oh, I hear you
Nice.
can get wrecked there.
Great.
That's it.
That's it.
I mean, until the rest.
Should we take a break? How do they take a break in Canada?
They stay for another 5 minutes and give each other hugs and say goodbye and give each other gifts, I think.
Great.
And then apologize for leaving.
I have no presents. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
Sorry. Are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest. But first, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
Our social media is at Gayish.
Whew. Oh, God.
I swallowed.
You
Weird.
okay?
Yeah. At Gayish.
That's weird.
Never have I ever. At Gayest Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and go to the Canadians only section of our Discord if you're Canadian.
Yeah. By the way, on Discord, it was very nice to meet Brandon Pettigrew, who put together our Discord for him. He and his man came to Seattle, and we went and had drinks, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so great to meet you, Brandon. Thanks for everything you do. We don't say that enough. We appreciate you.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
And our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.ca. Nope. Sorry. .com.
Sorry. And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109. And we got something.
We did?
This was International Post. This comes to us from
Good theme for the episode.
Sydney, Australia.
Well,
It says Mike, Kyle, and Dan, gayish.
Thank you for including me. That was thoughtful.
I think it's a dead body. It's a Ziploc bag.
very tiny one.
Is it a jock
Just
strap?
a finger.
Is it a used jock strap? Oh no, that's
Oh no,
paper
it's just
towel.
wrapped in. Oh, you're going for
Is
the
that
card.
special down under paper towel?
Hi, Mike, Kyle, and Dan. I just wanted to say thanks for the show. I really enjoy your banter, and I'm learning a lot about the community. I'm now 48 and not out to my family, just a couple of friends. I hope to come out to my family soon, starting with my brother. Your podcast has given me the strength to do this. I have enclosed a gift for each of you. I hope you like them and it doesn't offend. Mike, you can use it for your D&D dice and fondle it while playing the game. Kyle, you can hang it from your microphone and have it hit your chin, a reminder of the past and hopefully again in the future. Dan, you can use it for your D&D dice too, although I think you are a little more creative than me, so you will come up with something more appropriate. Take care, your friend in Australia. Oh,
We should
God
probably shoot.
damn it. Please just refer to me as B or Anonymous if you read this on the
Well,
podcast.
yes, that was all. The name was cut.
And
That's
his
fine.
email. And those are three sacks made out of kangaroo scrotums. Thanks, B.
Thank you. If you have animals native to your homeland that you want to send us the scrotums of,
Post Office Box
don't,
19882.
because we have the best one already. Gayest and Straightest?
Let's do our gayest and straightest. I'm happy to go first.
Great.
The straightest thing about me this week was I took the Jeep in and just had the butchiest butch conversation with the dude at the desk that was like, we talked about bushings and struts and death wobble, and we
All this
talked about
sounds
my
like-
steering dampener and all kinds of stuff.
That
It
all
was
sounds
great.
like Polari words.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe I asked him out on a date accidentally.
Wait, you can't just
It
say
was
that.
straight guy Polari. You know? The gayest thing about me this week was I had a meeting with somebody at work that I haven't seen in some time. I used to report to him. This was like a year ago. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've seen him, and he was commenting because he could see that I was in the studio, and he said, "So you're out of your closet," is what he said to me, because I used to have my home office in a walk-in closet in my room when I had a roommate, and so we had a good chuckle about like, yeah, I'm out of the closet, and I'm out of the closet.
Finally,
thank you.
both.
Yeah.
My straightest is I did not have any bowls, so I just took the bit. No, bowl like the things you put cereal in.
Great.
And usually I put like yogurt and blueberries and stuff into a bowl, so I didn't have that. So I just took my big thing of yogurt and poured some blueberries on top and was like, I'll just eat the top part.
Excellent.
Which is roughly the amount that I would eat if I put it in a bowl.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah. And no dishes.
I thought so.
Yeah.
My gayest is my hair. My stylist Tiffany, who was on our app makeover episode, she did my hair. She put rainbow colors in it. I just kind of like now know her enough that she's like, can I do whatever? And I'm like, do whatever. And so, yeah, I have a rainbow in my hair. Yeah. Literally the first time my hair's ever been dyed.
I like it. It's more subtle than I expected. When you were saying you were going to get rainbow in your head, I was like, oh, it's going to look like a fucking unicorn, and it doesn't.
She asked, she was like, should I do you want like literal like the blocks of the rainbow colors in order, or can I be more creative with it? And creative, so they're like at the front, and it's like strands go from color to color, and I like it.
Yeah, it's great. A listener's gayest and straightest. This time it comes to us from
the Canadian Discord.
From the Canadian Discord, we hopped on there and
thank you everyone who replied and had a lot of good discussions and made me read a lot of things.
Yeah. It is from Care Bear Jeff on Discord. It says, straightest, letting my beard grow to lumberjack/hockey playoffs length. Gayest, washing said beard in the shower while listening to the greatest hits of Celine Dion. That is fantastic and very Canadian.
Is she Canadian?
Yes, she's Canadian.
I knew that.
Great.
Kyle, edit this out. And we got a lot of also very good Canadian gays and straightest. I want to thank our super gap bridgers, Cian and Javi, Chris Kachatorian, Christopher Farrell, Jerome York. Why did I paste that twice? Did I miss someone? Who knows? Jamie Pugh, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, Patrick Martin, Clinton Withers, Anonymous, and Forrest Nail.
Yeah. Great. Is it still See on Hobby? Okay, great. And a thank you to Justin Trudeau's ass. We made it this far without mentioning it even once.
That's true. Wow, we deserve a Canadian award for that.
Yeah, they have those, right?
And Ryan Reynolds, the namesake of my dog.
That is it.
See him? I don't in Amnesty, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't even care that he's murdering his family. He's like drenched in water, and he's wearing.
Are you speaking English?
Yeah.
He's talking about the remake of Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds was ripped
And
hairy and bearded and hot and
cutting and chopping wood. Yeah.
and murdering his family.
Murdering his family.
I was like, oh, murders. Yeah.
And-
So
It's your turn to speak, Kyle. I get it. Okay.
It was just light murder.
Well, that is it. This has been Gayish from the CNN Hobby Studio. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, that's all, folks. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be Canadian.
Be Canadian.
Bye.
Bye. None of it.
They're little sacks that
you
are.
guys want matching ones?
I don't care.
Genuine kangaroo scrotum, it says on it.
Really?
Oh my God, does it really?
Yeah.
It really is.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, I'm going to assume it is.
These are very large.
This one's nice.
Yeah.